Good morning to all of you. Today I'm going to talk about the motivation and emotion. Before I talk about the motivation and emotion, I wanted to ask you one question. What do you mean by motivation? How do you define motivation? When I ask you this question, there are many people will come out with many different definitions. Some definitions such as motivation is a drive to do anything, or motivation is a drive to do something which can help you to achieve the goal, or motivation is um, uh, a factor which determines to do something in order to achieve the goal. Okay, so here there are two words which you came across. One is that desire, and another one is that drive, or another one is that something to do so that you will achieve the goal. Okay, that something is can be called as a motivation. Now all these things you would have said, like when I if I asked you the question of what do you mean by motivation. In the next slide we'll see, like, in elaborately, what do you mean by motivation. What is motivation? Motivation here, it is explained as a need or desire that energizes behavior and directs it towards a goal. Now here there are like two or three words that you can see. Okay, so one is that need or desire. Okay, that will push you or push you or energizes you, direct you towards a goal. Okay, so that will help you to achieve the goal. Okay, need or desire. Okay, what is that need or desire? Okay, that can be called as a motivation. Okay, it is what either starts. Okay, if you are not doing anything for achieving the goal, it will help you to start doing that anything that can help you to achieve the goal, or it will stop the behavior which will hinder you towards achieving the goal. For example, if I'm going somewhere, if I have to go somewhere, like for example, if I go to place A to place B, okay, so place B is my goal. Okay, so place A, I have to start. You can tell that, like, you are lethargic, you are not feeling like going to the B place. Okay, or you will procrastinate. Okay, so you will say that, like, yes, let me go after some time. Okay, all this behavior, that negative behavior, will stop, and you will start doing what through which, like, you can reach the B point. Okay, so that is called starts or stops the behavior. It could be internal or it could be external forces also that could drive your thoughts or moods or behavior in order to achieve the goal. Okay, so this is like, as a overview, you can know that, like, what do you mean by motivation from the definitional point of view. Now henceforth, what will I do is that every slide, like every topic, okay, once in a while I'll be asking you the question. That question you may not be able to answer, since here in that case, what I'm telling you is that, okay, so you have to write the answer and you have to keep it with you. Whenever I ask you to submit these answers along with the questions in the form of assignment, that time you have to submit in order to get the marks. Okay, so this exercise also carries the marks. Unless or until you don't go through the video, you may not be knowing that. Okay, so what kind of assignment that I'm giving it to you. Okay, so I would suggest that, like, everyone should be watching this lecture so that you will be knowing what kind of assignment that I'm giving. I will generate the assignment. Okay, so I'll post it in the MST so that, like, you can watch and you can complete the assignment as I have explained in the lecture. Okay, so now there are two types of motivations are there. One is that extrinsic motivation, another one is the intrinsic motivation. As far as, like, extrinsic motivation is a type of motivation where you are extrinsically motivated and arises from external factors. Like, for example, if you are given money, okay, so if you're going for some job in the organization, why are you going? Okay, why are you doing that job? Okay, some monetary benefit that you're giving, that monetary benefit will help you to sustain in the day-to-day life. That is what, like, you will go to the work and you will do it whether you are interested or not interested. The motivation, only one motivation that helps you to do that work, is that money or monetary term. Okay, you will gain something so that you can take care of your babies, your children, your wife, and your whatever the desires that you have, you can fulfill. Okay, so that only that money thing will push you to go there and work according to their procedure or their rules and regulation. There are people who don't get motivated because of money, who get motivated, in fact, who get motivated because of their passion, their experience. Okay, they wanted to do that job. For example, some people wanted to teach very passionately. Teaching is their passion. They want to teach, they want to spread the knowledge, they wanted to add to the existing knowledge. For some people, research is a very passionate things. Okay, so they will do research out of there, like with full interest. Okay, so there are certain things which is there you will do out of force. Okay, out of compulsion. Okay, so you don't have any other choice, you have to do it for survival. Okay, so that kind of motivation is called extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is the second group of things that I've said, because of your passion. Okay, that motivation arises from inside. That is what we can say. Type of motivation, intrinsic motivation is type of motivation comes from within, while extrinsic motivation arises from external factors. Okay, when you are intrinsically motivated, you engage in an activity because you enjoy it and get personal satisfaction from doing it. Okay, for example, creating a website for fun. Okay, this is a kind of motivation which is internal or intrinsic, that we can say. Okay, so this is the two types of motivation: extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation. Okay, now coming to the theory part. Okay, there are like different theories on motivation. Okay, what do you mean by theory? Theory is some kind of system which is created, or some kind of knowledge or some kind of idea which is created, which can be applicable anywhere, anywhere in the world. That is what like it means theory. Okay, for example, if someone says that there is a gravitational force which is there in the earth, anything that you throw opposite to the earth, okay, so it will come back again. Okay, so it is a kind of theory which is 9.8 meter per second square. Okay, with the speed. Okay, so whether you throw the what called weightless thing also, at the same time, like whether you throw the apple also, whether you throw anything, which it will come on the same speed. Okay, only thing is that when the weightless thing is thrown, you have to keep it in the airless container, so that like air will not stop that to fall to earth. Okay, so there are like many things there which came out, or like which is proposed in the form of theory, and the proving the theory will happen over the period of time. That we need to look at when different school of thought, different people, okay, so different researcher will engage themselves in proving that particular theory. Such kind of theory is also proposed for the motivation. Okay, different school of thought looks at motivation, that power that either starts or stops the behavior through different lenses. There are like three different theories are there. One is the instinct theory, another one is the drive theory, and incentive theory. Okay, so let us look one by one in order to understand better way about the motivation. First, instinct theory. Okay, so what do you mean by instinct theory? It is a instinctual. Okay, it is a biological in nature. Okay, so instinct theory proposes that organisms are motivated to engage in certain behavior because of their genetic programming, and because these behavior lead to success in terms of natural selection. We had a debate in the class, nature versus nurture. Okay, so nature is more of a biological in nature, and nurture is more of a what called extrinsic, or like environment in environment things. Okay, if some people by nature, by biologically, they are very much interested to do something, okay, and they will be like shining in that. Okay, and they can do better than anyone else. Okay, their genetic programming is so that, okay, so they will be able to do that one in a very fantastic way. Okay, for example, some of the things in day-to-day life. Okay, so when we get thirst, okay, so that is like kind of nature, that like we drink water. Okay, we pursue sex in order to reproduce, to propagate the human species. It is an innate biological need. That we will be doing it. Okay, so there is nobody should be there to teach them. Okay, so that is like instinct in us. Okay, that is what, like, it is an instinct theory. There is a second theory which is called instinctual theory. Instinct theory, it is the extension of instinct theory. It is instinctual theory. Okay, so that is also like the nature of the human is that, like, they reproduce, or they have a social dominance. Okay, so they have human beings are territorial in nature. They will say, like, this is our space, this is your space. Okay, you should not disturb my privacy. Okay, so I have a privacy. Okay, I have a private space. That is what, like, they'll say. Okay, that is why, like, we have land, patta, all these things, so that, like, people should know that this is the territory belongs to such and so person. We are not supposed to disturb them. Okay, so some animals have instinctual behavior like mating dances or nest building sequences. All these things known as a instinctual or instinct theory. Okay, drive theory, that is second theory. Okay, drive theory is also known as drive reduction or homeostatic theory. Okay, this perspective views behavior as motivated by the need to reduce internal tension caused by unmet biological needs. There are biological needs in our body. If it is not met, what will happen? Our behavior will be very different. For example, here in body, the water level has gone down because we were walking, or like we were doing some kind of workout. Okay, we were sweating. Okay, so we feel kind of very thirsty. Our first objective will be where we can get water. So all the behavior will be directed towards that only. Okay, this unmet need drives us to behave in a way that causes the intensity of the drive to be reduced. Okay, once we get the water, once we drink the water, then that body will come to the normal stage. Okay, that is called homeostatic theory. Okay, homeostatic stage, which brings us to the normal stage. Okay, they work by negative feedback, that is, one experiences an unpleasant feeling, hunger, thirst, until you meet the need. Okay, the brain makes sure that the body is kept in balance, whether it could be in a matter of body temperature, whether it could be in a matter of fluid level, or whether it could be energy supplies or need for rest. Body temperature, when we go to any place, if we feel very hot, okay, so we will sweat like anything. Okay, we will start searching the place where we can normalize our body temperature. Like, for example, sometimes, like, when we feel very hot, we will go to the place where the temperature is little low. There is a what called fan, or there is a AC. Okay, so we will search. And even when we are sitting in the AC, if it is too cold, what we try to do? Okay, so we try to bring down the temperature, bring the temperature to the normal state, so that, like, we can enjoy. Okay, so this balance or optimal state is called homeostasis. Okay, homeostasis. This is our natural state. The body does its best to stay balanced. Hunger, thirst, sex, drive, sleep. Okay, so all these things are normalizing our stage. It's called homeostasis. Okay, however, how do we account for eating disorder? There are people, like, who eat more, who like to eat more. They don't eat for satisfying their hunger, but they eat for satisfying their taste. Any food which tastes good, you will have more, you will consume more. That is the habit of general tendency of human being. Okay, but at one point of time, when our stomach is filled, okay, so we will stop. But there are some people, like, who will continue to eat because they like to eat. Okay, so how do we account this kind of eating disorder? Can you bring this eating disorder into under the motivation that you need to answer? Okay. The third and last theory of the motivation is that incentive theory. Okay, so incentive theory states that behavior is motivated by the pull of external goals such as rewards. If you come to class, you will get an A grade. That A grade will force you, or will push you, or will tell you that again and again that you need to go to the class in order to get the A grade. If you miss the class, what will happen? The attendance will come down. Once the attendance will come down, you will lose 5 to 10 marks. That you cannot afford to do. Because if you lose that 5 to 10 marks, your CGPA will drastically come down. How much ever you may prepare for the exam, how much ever you may appear good in the exam, still like it will bring down. Okay, so you work out to get compliments. You go to work to earn money to buy a house. Now I'll ask you one question. Okay, so that question should be answered in the form of assignment. Okay, are all human behavior motivated by incentives? What do you think? In this case, like we can say that not all the people. In my life, I have come across and I've met the people, I have talked with the people, many people, they have said that like they don't work for money. If they wanted, they would have joined some organization where they get paid more than where they are working now. But they say that like I don't work for money or I don't work for any kind of incentive, but I work for my satisfaction. I work for my inner fulfillment. That is what they will say. Okay, what do you think such kind of people? Do you admire that kind of people, or will you say that like they are mad or they are dumb? Okay. So now you have to ask, like you have to answer the question: are all human behavior motivated by incentive? That answer I myself answered. Now you have to answer from your own words, and what is your thinking or what is your opinion, that also you need to tell. Not all of human behavior has a direct reward attached to it. For example, how about those who are motivated to achieve just for the sake of achieving, or who do things for fun or personal growth? What are some of the things we do for fun that don't have any incentive attached to them? Some people do something for fun only. They don't get any kind of incentive for that. For example, many people, philanthropists, okay, or social activists, or people like people like who work for their satisfaction. Like for example, there are many people like I've come across some people getting CNN, IBN award. They were feeding many people like who are mentally ill. Okay. They were taking care of them. Okay, so there are people like who are taking care of the elderly. Okay, there are people like who are visiting the hospital and they try to help the people like who are struggling. Okay, and there are people like who give away money, their own money, hard-earned money to help the people. That also they do. All these things they don't do it for incentives. They do it for their satisfaction, or they do it for their personal kind of work. They do it for fun. Okay, that also we can say. Okay, so this is called incentive theory. Okay, now what are the types of motives that we will see? Now, so far, like what we have seen, 3 types of theory that we have seen. Okay, if we go back, okay, so we can see that one is instinct theory, another one is drive theory, and another one is the incentive theory that we have seen. Okay, now we will see what are the types of motivation. Motivation can be divided into 3 major categories. One is the primary motives, another one is the stimulus motives, and the third one is the secondary motives. Now we will see like what is the primary motives in detail. Okay, so primary motives are based on biological needs that must be met for survival. If you don't have food for your belly, or like for meeting hunger, you will not be able to survive. You will die. Okay, so till some point of time you will be alive. Okay, so at one point of time without having food you will die. Okay, so they are innate, like hunger, thirst, pain avoidance, needs for air, sleep, elimination of waste, regulation of body temperature. All these things are innate. It is necessary for you. You will every time you will try to satisfy your hunger, satisfy your thirst. Okay, you will avoid the pain. Okay, so pain is more also like people die. Okay, you need air to breathe. If you don't get air to breathe, you will die. Okay, if you don't sleep continuously, there is a possibility that like at one point of time you will die. Okay, elimination of waste. Okay, so when you go to loo, okay, so if you don't go loo, you will die. Okay, so if you don't regulate your body temperature, there is a possibility that like you will die. Okay, all these things will push you to do like breathing the air, sleeping, okay, elimination of waste, pain avoidance, hunger, thirst, okay, fulfilling hunger and thirst, okay, all these things you will do in order to survive. Okay, it is a biological need. It is a must. If you don't do this one, you will die. Okay. Second type of motives is that stimulus motive. Okay, it expresses our needs for stimulation, okay, and information. For example, activity, curiosity, exploration, playing parties, surf the net, reading, hanging out with friends, emailing each other. All these things you will do it for end up doing some kind of fun. Okay, for example, you are forced to read your textbooks or you are forced to read your notes which is being given in the class. Sometimes randomly you select some magazine or novel, okay, you start reading because it is your interest. Okay, it is a stimulus that push you to do that one. Okay, sometimes like you will go and play. Playing for the sake of achieving some kind of goal is different. Playing for the sake of fun is different. Okay, playing for the fun is the stimulus need. Okay, so you get boring, so you do something others. You dance or you sing. Okay, all this is it's called stimulus motives. Okay, the last motive is the secondary motives. Okay, based on learning needs or drives and goals. It helps explain many human activities like making music, creating a web page, trying to win a skateboarding contest or American Idol. Okay, there is no incentives, any kind of incentives involved. You do it out of your own sake. You do it out of your need of power. Okay, need of approval, status, security, achievement. For all these things, you will do it. In the process, you may get incentives also. Okay, so that also is that. Okay, so motives like we have seen, there are like many motives, like for example, primary motives, stimulus motives, and secondary motives. Okay. Now, one question that I throw it to you, so that like you can answer in the assignment. Okay, what motives do this activity belong to? Okay, one exercise that I am giving it to you. Reading history for pleasure. What kind of motive? Whether it is a primary motive, stimulus motive, or secondary motive. Hunger. Whether it is a primary motive, stimulus motive, or secondary motive. Trying out for an American Idol. Whether it is a primary motive, stimulus motive, or secondary motive. That you need to explain. Okay, so in the assignment. Now, there is another concept is the sensation seekers. Okay, there are people like who take highest amount of risk in order to enjoy. They enjoy that kind of activity. For example, they go for trekking in the Everest. Trekking in the Everest or like any mountain, it's so high, it is highly risky that there are people like who have died. Okay, or doing some activity, very adventurous activity. Okay, so they get some kind of unsensual or intense stimulation. They look out for some kind of new, unusual or intense stimulation. Okay, they go for trekking or they go for skating. Okay, they go for kind of diving in the diving. Okay, so they go for many of the activity which is like very intense in nature. Okay, so they do that because they are like belong to sensation seekers. Okay, people who score high on sensation seeker tend to be independent, bold, who value change. Okay, they report more sexual partners than low sex scorers, always looking for thrills. Okay, so that is what their nature. Okay, those who are sensation seekers. Okay, there is a psychological question. Okay, so please write a one-page mission statement for your life. What motivates you? What gives your life meaning and purpose? What do you hope to accomplish with the time that's being given to you? Okay. Now, sensation seeker, low sensation seekers are orderly, nurturant, giving, and enjoy company of others. Which are you? Whether you are low sensation seeker or high sensation seeker. Most people are somewhere in the middle of these two extremes. Okay, where are you? You have to locate and you have to write it down. And why are you like that? That also like you need to write it down. Some questions some answer to the some of the questions. When you start writing, you will be able to get it. You will think, where am I standing? Okay, so that standing that you need to write it down here. Okay, need for achievement motivation. Motivation is a habitual desire to achieve goals through one's effort. The desire to excel or meet some internalized standard of excellence. People want to do well in any situation. It's hard to beat a person that never gives up. That is what Babe Ruth says. Okay, there is a story that I want to tell you, which will explain you if the people are like very low in motivation, like what they can do. Okay, David Mendel, he was a former Nazi concentration camp inmate. He recalled how a starving father and son would fight over a piece of bread like dog. Okay, you might not be knowing about the Nazi concentration camp, and I have already told you like about the First World War and Second World War. In the 1939, this Second World War started, and it went on to till like 1945. During this period, Germany, Italy, and Japan was one side, and other countries like America, UK, France, Russia, all the countries were other side. Okay, so in Germany was ruled by Hitler, who is a very dictator, very ferocious dictator, and very he has tortured many people in the concentration camp. Okay. He could bring all the Jewish, because he hated the Jewish. He brought all the Jewish people into the concentration camp, and he used to torture them with his officials. Okay, so he killed around. It is estimated that he killed around 60 lakh Jewish people. Imagine a kind of what called dictatorial nature that Hitler was. Okay, so it is one of the story. Many stories are that. One of the stories is this one. David Mendel in 1983, a former Nazi concentration camp inmate, recalled how a starving father and son would fight over a piece of bread like dogs. One father, whose 20-year-old son stole his bread from under his pillow while he slept, went into a deep depression, asking over and over again how his son could do such a thing. The next day, the father died. Hunger does something to you that's hard to describe, Mandel explained. So this is the situation. Okay. So with this, like we have come to an end of this part 1 of this lecture.